About a year working with one of the best people I've ever worked with, we were both stuck. She was frustrated, I was frustrated, and we couldn't figure out how to make progress together. Now, on paper, everything was fine. We had a job description, we talked all the time. Then one day we were in the middle of a super tense conversation and it hit me. What I thought was the absolute most important part of her job and what she thought was the most important part of her job were two different things. And here's the kicker. The thing that she thought was most important was a great thing. The problem is she didn't have the overall context of the company to realize that wasn't quite the right thing to focus on. And this is on me because I had never given her a way to find out. We had no consistent way of checking in with each other. We were like two people rowing in a completely different direction, and that does not create alignment or momentum. Around the same time, I was sitting in my EO forum, and a good friend of mine, Craig Hetrich, was presenting. Now, Craig is an amazing traction implementer, and he helps business owners actually roll this type of stuff out within their business on a daily basis. So what he did is he explained this quarterly check-in system, and it was like Moses coming down from the mountain with tablets. It was that dramatic. It struck me right in the moment that this was what we were missing. So we took it back to my companies, made a few changes, and we've been running it ever since. I wrote the full step-by-step how-to in my newsletter. I'll link that up in this video, including a template that you can use in either Excel or Google Sheets. But this video is about the framework, it's about the why, and then the newsletter is about the how-to. Because once you understand how this framework actually works, you're never going to go back to traditional performance reviews again. So let me show you. All right, so the first thing we have is we have three columns. All right, the first column are the elements. These are the items that are actually going to be evaluated on a quarterly basis. The next column is the team members' self-rating. Now, all of these ratings are on a simple scale of 1 to 3. 1 means like rarely or substandard. 3 means like all the time or exceptional. So there's no big matrix, nothing like that. It's a simple 1 to 3 performance scale, with 3 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. Now, the third column is the manager's score. All right. Once again, that is the manager's opinion of each of these elements on a scale of 1 to 3. Now, here is a key part of this: the order of how it gets filled out. Because before the quarterly check-in, the team member needs to go through and do the self-assessment. And it's very intentional that they go first, because this process is about their development, not you as the manager and not your company. Now, after that, once again, before the meeting, but after the team member rates themselves, the manager goes in and does their own rating. And best practices are to hide this column before the manager fills in their portion, so they're not swayed by these answers. And here's the deal: the gap between these two columns, the differential in rating between these two columns, that is the entire conversation of the quarterly check-in. If this is a 1 and this is a 3, that's a conversation. If this is a 2 and that's a 1, that's a conversation. Now, if both of these are 1, that's probably also a conversation. But the real thing you're trying to do is find misalignment between the team member's self-assessment and the manager's perspective on that element. Now, when it comes to the rows, there's 3 sections. The first section are core values. Now, let me give you an example. Like at TBS, our core values are good humans, we are relentless, we are self-aware, we're exacting in nature, and we are process-driven. Your organization needs to have core values. I have a separate newsletter about that if you're interested. Now, in this first section, the team member and the manager are rating to what extent the team member lives out these core values on a daily basis. 3 means all the time, 1 means rarely, and 2 means more often than not. And what I like about this is this really brings core values off of that poster on the wall that nobody looks at into a regular assessment every 90 days. The team member has to ask themselves, am I living out these core values? And the manager has to ask themselves, is this person living out the core values? If there's a misalignment here, anything less than 3s across the board, that probably is a little bit of a smoke signal that there is a problem with this team member and it needs to be addressed immediately. Now, the second section are key job elements. Key job elements should come from your job descriptions. Any good job description has a section of it that says basically, what's the most important part of this job? What does success look like? And in a great job description, those are listed in order of priority and importance. That same set of fundamental elements are then pulled into the quarterly check-in. And once again, before the meeting, the team member rates themselves on a scale of 1 to 3 on their performance when it comes to their key job elements. The manager, before the meeting, also rates them as well. And once again, not to beat a dead horse here, but we're looking for a differential between these two. Now, an important thing to remember here is the job description is a static document. It's like a statue sitting there, right? But over time, jobs change. Companies change course, and therefore jobs change course. And so over time, this is really cool because the quarterly check-in, which happens every 90 days, allows these job elements to be discussed, adjusted, tweaked over time to where both parties are well aware at any given moment what the priority of this person's role entails. So the quarterly check-in is more of like a living document that then backfeeds to the job description maybe every year or two. At the end of the day, the quarterly check-in is probably going to be more of your North Star as to effectiveness to the job description than the actual original job description. So let me give you some examples of this for one of my key team members. The first thing he's responsible for is hitting our rolling 12 net profitability numbers. The second thing is what we call LMA, leading, managing, and holding the team accountable. The third thing is executing on the annual company playbook. And lastly, resolving cross-functional issues between different departments of the company. That's an example in order of his 4 most important job elements. And that's what he rates himself on, and then I rate him on every 90 days. Now, the beautiful thing about this framework when you're done is that it creates a really clear picture, a simple picture of where the misalignment is. And that's where the two of you need to dive into the discussion at the quarterly check-in. Now, the last section are my 4 favorite questions for the employee to ask themselves at every quarterly check-in. Now, once again, these questions are about them. They're not about you, the manager, or the company. This is all about how we can support our team, develop our team, and help them achieve their goals. So the first one is, what do you want for your future here, and how can I help you get there? Employment is not just about the company or the manager. Employment is about helping that person achieve their personal goals through a professional setting. We really need to understand this with our people and know answers to these questions when it comes to what they want for their future so we can best support them along the way. The second one is, what is your biggest frustration at work? All right? What keeps you up at night? What makes you want to pull your hair out? What are things that you're thinking of when you're driving to the office and you're hoping you don't have to deal with? Let's smoke those out so we can figure out how to fix them together. Next, what keeps you motivated to stay? Why do you want to continue working here? And the interesting thing about this question is it will often reveal the opposite, what might cause you to leave. It's really important we know these things, these kind of lines in the sand, if you will, with our team and our people, so we can make sure that we clear the hurdles and make sure they truly get satisfaction out of their job. And lastly, I call it start, stop. Is there anything that you want me to start doing that I'm not doing? Or is there anything you want me to stop doing that I am doing? Right? As a manager, sometimes we are doing things that drive our people nuts. They don't feel comfortable telling us. It's really important that we create an atmosphere and a situation in which they can be brutally honest about that. And conversely, what are some things that the manager is doing or that I'm not doing that I need to start doing to support you? Really important things, once again, and the quarterly check-in is a wonderful forum to bring these up. Now, what I want you to realize is everything about these questions is about the team member. These questions serve the team member's development. It supports the team member. It makes them more excited to come into work each day. At the end of the day, if our people are satisfied, if they are heard, if they are cared for, they're going to execute really well on their job, and they're going to be great team members to both you, the manager, and also their fellow coworkers. The point of this 90-day check-in, please hear me, it's not about the manager, it's not about the company, it is about the team member. Do not make this a 60 to 90-minute session that is self-serving. Now, look what we've built. At the top, we've defined who we are as an organization and how we're doing to that. In the middle, we talked about what we're doing and how we're doing it and how well we are aligned on that. And lastly, we created a human-to-human connection that figures out how this whole situation could benefit the growth and the development of the team member via these 4 questions. It is a very simple framework that checks all the boxes. And quite frankly, it probably takes the team member maybe 5 to 10 minutes to prepare for this meeting, the manager maybe 5 minutes to prepare for the meeting, and then the meeting itself is typically about 45 to 90 minutes. Think about that. Every 90 days, roughly 2 hours of time creates complete and full alignment, and that's why I think this is such a powerful system. So what happened with that team member I mentioned at the very beginning of the video? Well, this system completely changed the way that we connected with each other. We started running these meetings and it was like 2 traffic lanes merging into one. It just simplified everything and smoothed so many things out. And the strange thing is, we both started to look forward to these meetings. It went from this critique type of session of a normal performance review to an opportunity for us to communicate and align. Now, we're not on the same team anymore. She moved on, but she did tell me when she left that this process was one of the most memorable and impactful parts of her time together. She said from that moment on, she no longer felt like 2 different people pulling in different directions. And notice what actually did that. It was 2 people showing up with honesty and self-assessment and wanting to serve each other and figure out how to make this whole thing work. That was the beautiful part of it. It was a collaboration, not a critique. So here's what I want you to take from this. This check-in is not about you or the company. This is about your team member. You have to remember that as you're approaching these quarterly check-ins. Because if we do that as leaders, we do that as managers and business owners, the business side of it will take care of itself. So if you want the actual template for this, the step-by-step, the how we actually roll it out in my companies, I'll go ahead and put the link to the newsletter in the description of this video or in the comments of this video, depending on where you're watching it. And once again, a shout out to my friend Craig Hetrich for coming up with this format and teaching it to myself and my EO forum. The man knows what he's doing. So one question before you go. What is the real reason that you've been reluctant to give your team authentic feedback? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every one of them. I'm Scott Monday. You and I are both fighting the war against mediocre business, and I'll see you next time.